Morning, everyone. Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things work out. By Art Linkletter. A happy morning to everyone logged in for today's program, Shape Your Career in Professional Writing in English. On behalf of the Department of English, I warmly welcome you all. A day without prayer is a day without blessing, and a life without prayer is a life without power. I now invite Amisoj Jyotisha from Second English to lead us in prayer.
We thank you, Lord, for bringing us together for this online seminar on this wonderful day. Thank you so much for blessing our institution and the English department with your divine providence. We praise you and may express our gratitude for making all our undertakings successful and effective. We pray, Lord, to generously bless us all. May everyone who participates in this seminar retain the invaluable knowledge and learning experiences that we derive. Bless all those who are part of the organizing team to responsibly fulfill their task and achieve the set objective. May we be living witnesses of your love and joy that fill our hearts to others. We pray to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Jyotisha. I now invite Ms. Mohanapriya, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to welcome the gathering.
Good morning, everyone. It gives me an immense pleasure to welcome you all for today's session. On behalf of Patrician College of Arts and Science and the Department of English, I'm happy to welcome each one of you for a career advancement program on Shape Your Career, Professional Writing in English. I thank God Almighty for His blessings on this wonderful day. I'm grateful to our Director and Secretary, Reverend Brother Dr. Arokya Raj, Academic Director Dr. Fatima Vasin, Principal Dr. Usha George, Vice Principals Dr. Geeta Rufus and Dr. Meena for their constant support and encouragement for organizing such programs. I once again welcome all the participants for this career advancement program. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now humbly request Dr. Usha George, Principal, Patrician College of Arts and Science, to render a few words of felicitation.
Excuse me, ma'am. You have to unmute your mic, ma'am. Sorry.
Very pleasant morning to one and all present here. I'm happy to join you all in this webinar organized by the Department of English. It's my pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to Nivedhita Louis, who's a freelance journalist, a founder and editor of the e-magazine Her Stories. You have requested a very appropriate person for the topic that is chosen for today's webinar, professional or academic writing to shape your career. On behalf of the management, faculty, students, I extend a very warm welcome to you, Nivedhita, for this webinar. And I also extend a very warm welcome to the participants, student participants and faculty from the other institutions who are joining us in this session. Just to share a few words on the topic that is chosen, which is so relevant, which will be useful to all our students and to the research scholars, professional writing. As we all know that the basic function of language is to communicate. We're using language through speech, through writing, basically starting with listening. And language is used in different ways by each one of us, depending upon the context and situation in which it is used. it can be formal, it can be informal. And the style or the kind of language that is adopted by most of us today, especially students and some academicians as well sometimes, is the informal language. Because we are so inclined to the quick, easy way of expressing ourselves. It is the SMS WhatsApp language which we are frequently making use of that slowly creeps into our writing. And writing, we know, can be formal or informal. But when it comes to professional or academic writing, there is no use. The informal form or expression cannot be made use of. It has to be formal. The kind of language, the choice of words, the tone that we adopt, it needs to be objective. There should be a lot of clarity in our thought and expression, coherence in the structuring of the sentences and the paragraphs and the entire project or thesis that we are working on. To narrow it down, if suppose you are, as students, writing a research project, what will be the process in which you will go about? First of all, you would start with your reading on the existing literature. You make a study of a critical reading of the literature that is already existing on the area of which you would like to work upon. Then you see what is the gap. You are doing a critical reading. There is a reader response theory which is slowly influencing your reading if it is a critical reading. You find that there is, when you begin to think on that, ponder on what you're reading, you find that there is some gap in the literature that you are reading. And you will come with your own thesis statement, which you will want to justify or defend. So this is the initial stage. When you think on what you would like to contribute, the gap you would like to fill. So here you have not yet started the writing process. It's just in the reading stage. You are formulating ideas. There's a brainstorming of various facts and ideas in your mind. Then you have to put it in writing. When it comes to writing, there is certain stylistic feature that has to be adopted. It could be descriptive, it can be analytical, logical, persuasive, argumentative, and so on, in order to defend your point of view. So you have to do a lot of research in order to find evidences, illustrations to support your thesis statement. And that has to be put in writing in a very formal manner with the appropriate choice of diction, language, and tone, of course. So that is the initial draft.
Ma'am, you're not audible.
Ma'am, you are not audible at all.
Yes, sir. Kindly wait, sir.
Ma'am, my colleague is denied entry. Please, can you accept her entry?
Can I join? Nivedhita, can I join?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I'll just sum up, okay? So what is important is that in your professional or scholarly writings, there is a certain style which you have to adopt. There is a certain way in which you need to express your thoughts in writing, which our resource person will enlighten you all. I'm sure this is going to be a very useful session, an experience. There will be a lot of learning from the experienced writer historian that we have in our midst today. So once again, I extend a very warm welcome to Nivedhita. Have a good day to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words of encouragement. I now invite Ms. Mohanapriya, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to introduce the resource person.
Thank you, Benita ma'am. It's indeed a great pleasure to introduce our resource person, Ms. Nivedhita Louis. She is a writer and journalist and founder and editor of e-magazine Her Stories, and she's also a social and feminist historian. Good morning, ma'am, and I'm really happy to introduce and I welcome you for this webinar. She is an author of Mudal Pengal, a book on pioneering women of Madras presidency, and Arichinallur Mudal Kiradi Varai, a book on comparative archaeology and material culture in Tamil. And she is also authored Magachin Desam, an e-book, a travelogue to Bhutan. And Sindhu Valley Nagarigam, it is also an e-book, a description on how Indus Valley civilization was discovered. She is also authored a book on Vadachennai, Varalarum Valviyalum, a book on heritage and historical monuments of North Madras. She is a content curator of EL Isai Museum exhibition in Government Museum, EGMO. And for Chennai Museum, application launched by Government Museum, EGMO. And she is also a curator for Heritage Walks, Greenways Road Walk, RK Solai, West Walk, Poonamali Ride, Armenian Church Walk, Raipuram Ride, Music On, Mount Road Ride, ICF Women Empowerment Walk, EL Isai Museum Walk, Santom Christmas Eve Walk, and etc. She's also delivered lectures and a lot of talks on Wonder Women of Madras, the Firangi women, foreign women, and their contribution to Tamil society, Trees of Madras Presidency, Adichinallur to Kiradi Archaeology of Tamil Nadu, Women in Tamil Nadu Politics, Madras and Pandemics, and Women in Science. She is also a columnist, Tolliyal Thirinjikalam for Tulir magazine, Tavaramum Marivom for Yadum magazine, Mudal Pengal 2 for minnambalam.com. She is also a satire columnist for One India, One People magazine, and also a travelogue columnist, One India, One People magazine. Madam has a very high profile, and I'm very keen when I was reading the profile and not to miss out even a small information about her. And I'm amazed to read her profile, and it was very interesting. Thank you so much for your presence, ma'am. The objective of this session is to encourage participants to gain more knowledge on professional writing in English. So through this session, the participants will be able to identify their vulnerable places that include improvements as well as the usual changes needed in their lifestyles. I ensure the session will be effective, and next 1 hour will be an enjoyable and fruitful for every one of you. Thank you very much. We love to hear from you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Over to Benita, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request Ms. Nivedhita Louis, writer and journalist, founder and editor of e-magazine Her Stories, to take over the session.
Good morning, one and all. Can you hear me? Am I audible clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
I thank Principal, Madam, Patrician College, for giving me this opportunity to address such young minds. It's always a delight to talk to younger audience because that is where most of us fail to connect. You know, the young people, they live in their own la-la land. Their world is totally different from what we are living and what we are seeing every day, I suppose. So it has been such a great honor to address this August gathering. Good morning to one and all. So, why me was the question that I was thinking when I was invited for the talk here. Because we at Her Stories, we are rather a fledgling website. We were launched about a year ago, though we were doing the groundwork for more than a year ago. And I'm also surprised that there are a lot of younger people out here who love to read, to listen what professional writing is all about. On a personal note, I wouldn't say that professional writing to me has been a great success. But then there are a lot of people out there who have been doing it successfully. And doing professional writing successfully is not something that has to do with the capacity that you have got, with the qualities that you have got. It's rather than that honing your skills and going for the kill. That's what I would love to say about professional writing. I would love to present a small PowerPoint, if that is fine with you. So can you see my screens?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Screen visible.
Right, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. So here we go. Professional writing. The very word professional writing is a little bit of a jinx, I would love to say. Writing is simply a medium of human communication, as ma'am very beautifully put. It's just a medium of communication in a language that we already know with written symbols, as simple as that. Is it that easy? Is writing so easy? We have started communicating with each other right from the Stone Age. We started through our cave paintings, through our rock art. From there, we have moved on to such a great medium that we do these days, over to the online media where we are writing pages and pages now. So it has been such a huge leap. Writing has been such a huge leap for the humankind, because that is where we have found ourselves as, we have nurtured ourselves as great civilizations. We have nurtured ourselves as great human beings. We have learned the ropes of communicating so well only through the medium of writing. So what is a profession? We'd like to start from what a profession actually means. I'd like to quote Alan Bullock and Stephen Trombley here when I mentioned the New Fontana Dictionary of Modern Thought, which says, any trade or occupation transforms itself through the development of formal qualifications based upon education, apprenticeship, and examinations, the emergence of regulatory bodies with powers to admit and discipline members in some degree of monopoly rights. And any person who is engaged in this is a professional. So how can writing be a profession? We do have formal qualifications. We do have proper education. We do have apprenticeship. We do have examinations. But when the question of emergence of regulatory bodies with power to admit and discipline members is there, I think we are at a very nascent stage. We are just starting out. We are just branching out. There are a lot of regulatory bodies in different countries, but in India, I think it's at a very nascent stage. We just have the Press Council of India, which is there to give some guidance to the journalists. Apart from that, anything that is governing the writers of these days is just ethics and the tricks of the trade. So what kind of writing is there actually? As your principal already said, it's writing either for a personal reason or for an audience. And writing for a personal reason can be for anything. One thing is, say for instance, you want to take notes, you write something. You want to communicate to someone, you write a letter, you communicate, can be a one-on-one communication. It can be with many people, you do it by letters. And what about writing for an audience? Writing for an audience whom you know, you may not know, that again, you can cite the example of blogging here. It goes to a totally different field of people who you may relate to, you may not relate to. Writing at a personal level can be very easy, because when you take notes, you know what you are writing. As ma'am said, you know, the style of writing these days has gone to the WhatsApp language and the Facebook language, where you don't even mention the words in full. It's all in quotes. You say ROFL, you say LOL, you say LMAO. That is how you write. And you understand that because it's you who's taking the notes. And letters, I think the art of letter writing itself is a lost thing right now. We don't write letters anymore. I remember people from the 80s and 90s, we used to write a lot of letters and we communicated so well, at times in Shakespearean English, at times in Victorian English. And later on, the English of the Indian authors like Shobha Dey and authors like Ruskin Bond and Khushwant Singh, we caught on their language and we were writing letters in that. And then we started emailing. when we started emailing, slowly language lost its luster. And the more and more we started texting, sending short messages, we lost our language and a flair for language totally at that point, I'd rather say. And when talking about blogging for an audience, or when writing for an audience, blogging actually is a very recent development. Say in the past 2 decades, blogging has brought about a sea change in the way people think, the way people talk, and the way people write. Earlier, we had wonderful newspapers like the Hindu, the Indian Express, the Statesman, the Times, which had their own language. The language of Times will be totally different from the language of the Hindu. It was no match for the Hindu. I think most of the South Indians will accept and agree that the language of the Hindu was one of the most beautiful ones. And even if you look at the letters to the editor that are being written to the Hindu, you can find the language of the readers exactly copying the one that is being written in the newspaper. Stalwarts like Subramanya Bharati, yes, our own Bharatiyar, have written letters to the editor to the Hindu in the same beautiful language that was written in the newspaper. So that was the kind of command a newspaper had on the audience. But do blogs these days have the same kind of effect on the audience? That is what is left to be told. So why does one write? Be it on a personal note or be it on a professional note, why does one write? One is to express oneself. We are all human beings. We all love to express ourselves. We all want to communicate. We all want to let ourselves known to people, to inform. So why do I inform? I talk about what I am doing. I find something that I'm doing very interesting and I want the people around me to know what I'm doing. To persuade. Why should I persuade someone? Because I have a product. The product can be anything and I want to market the product. I want to sell the product. And so I write it in persuasion. And creative writing. Why creative writing? Because creative writing is something from where they were, a society which was wearing hides, raw hides and hunting, to where we are now, to a civilized society. So that is why we need creative writing. So the main purpose of expressing oneself is to make connections to others and to contribute to the human thought, I would say, and culture, and to establish and deepen the human contact. We can say the best examples for expressing oneself being emails, our social media platforms like Facebook, like Twitter, like blogs, or other social networking sites. And informative writing is very clear, very accurate. It is organized, it's thorough, and it's above all fair. And it is used to educate or explain something to the audience, as I told already. You can bring essays, research papers, and presentation to this form of communication. Persuasion, again, is that a place where the writer thinks that he needs to change the minds of readers, or at least he needs to get the readers to question the position, especially in a debate, and consider the writer's point of view. It is a more serious form of writing on a very debatable topic. And you can say the best examples for persuasive writing as the essays that are being written, the research papers that are being written, and the presentations, one such being what's shown to you right now. And literature or creative writing is a form of writing that is not a composition style writing. The purpose is to entertain more than to inform. It's totally different from informative writing in that way. We can quote the examples of novels, plays, and poems when it comes to creative writing. And in a broader sense, when you put together all this, expressing oneself, informing, persuading, creative writing, all that can be in a broader sense put as professional writing. So what is professional writing? Professional writing, we have an old school of thought that was saying any writing or oral communication other than art or scholarly writing is professional writing. And it was mostly written to help subordinates or the people at the other end, the end users in a workplace environment, helping them to make informed decisions. That was basically thought of as professional writing up until 2-3 years ago. But I think now the very word professional writing has undergone a sea change, where it encompasses anything that is non-personal into this area, anything that is impactful, anything that is written for a proper audience is professional writing. As simple as that. So apart from this, we also have different kinds of writing. Anything, to me, I would like to say, a professional writing is any writing that can be monetized, that can take a proper meaning to a bigger audience, and it can be made better through training and through professional bodies. We have different types of professional writing. Say, for instance, academic writing. And academic writing is always involving writing of scientific ideas and research in a very simple, understandable, and an authentic manner. It involves compiling research from journals and from reports and from textbooks and shaping that research into a complete report. And it also has summary of essays and dissertations, which helps in further research. And it also should be edited, proofread, and composed as a proper research. So academic writing is totally something different. It is professional writing. It is part of professional writing, but you need unique skills if you want to be an academic writer. Business writing, again, some of the common examples of business writing that we see these days are emails, memos, and notices. The main goals of business writing is to convey information, to deliver news, to call people to action, to explain or justify an action. And mostly business writing may be intra-organizational or inter-organizational. It can be within a company, it can be outside the company. It's simply used to communicate in business. It also involves a little bit of personal writing also, like writing resumes, cover letters, experience letters, recommendation letters for the clients. A little bit of a personal touch is also there in business writing. And we use business writing basically to build your business plans, business models, to submit your project proposals, to write your project reports, to send out your brand manifestos, your business letters, your presentations, and above all, in supporting your marketing campaigns. When it comes to marketing campaigns, the number of words simply don't matter. What matters is the power with which you pack them in. The smaller, the better. Say, for instance, the sloganeering and the slogans that you write for marketing campaigns. You need not write a large essay amounting to 1,500, 2,000 words to explain what your business is about. A simple sentence with 5 or 6 words would do that magic. And finding out that exact life of an organization on sending it out in 5 or 6 words involves business writing. Again, that is a huge, unique skill that you develop over a period of time. Creative writing. Creative writing is perhaps the most interesting and diverse type of professional writing, and it goes beyond the bounds of all other forms of professional writing because it allows the writer to play with his inner creativity, his originality, and his innovation. Creative writing, most of the time, it is subjective to the expression of what a writer thinks, his feelings, and his opinions. And we can also call journalistic writing as a part of creative writing, especially when it comes to newspaper articles, features, and op-eds. So creative writing is a very, very vast field. It has a lot of sub-branches. You can see here on your screens: literature, screenwriting, drama, poetry, comics, autobiography. All these involve creative writing. So can we make money out of creative writing? That question needs to be answered. But then before that, we talk about technical writing also here. Technical writing is something that is also, again, I would say rather in a broader sense, it also forms part of your professional writing. And it gives, simplified complex operations or technicalities, which is made understandable by a common man. Say, for instance, a manual that you get when you buy a washing machine. It has a lot of technicalities, but then it is put out very simply and in a very easy way so a person can understand. It's basically about creating operation manuals, product catalogs, and how to do guides for devices and softwares. We also have copywriting or content writing, which is one of the biggest money spinner these days. These are two overlapping concepts. When you write about copywriting or content writing, they're similar in terms of their basic theme. They are used to promote and educate. It involves elements that like advertisements, marketing and promotional materials, website write-ups, and blog articles. Simple thing about copywriting is that it pitches a product and helps someone to sell it. So why one needs professional writing for the betterment of a society? I would love to say that we need professional writing, especially through social media these days, because social media, with the advent of the internet, has become a biggest boon, and it has also become the biggest bane of a society. People don't read the newspapers anymore. We don't have people gazing at magazines. We don't have people who look for lengthy op-eds, people who write opinions in big paragraphs. No, all that is a big no, because our world has shrunk in terms of distance, in terms of the amount of writing that we require. Everything is small. Small is the catch these days. So why should one write to bring about a social change? Because we always talk about capital as being something that is on a monetary term. When you mint money, when you make money, it is capital. It is a capital that you earn, you utilize. And here we are talking about something called the social capital, a capital that is built for the society. It need not be in terms of money. So the pictures that you're seeing on your screen, all the 4 pictures were taken during the Arab Spring 2010-2011, which happened in the Middle East and in parts of North Africa. I'm bringing out the Arab Spring here because I want to make a point here. Professional writing has been something that has made a huge change in this part of the world during the last decade. Even now, when you look at things that's happening in Afghanistan, when you look at CNN's reporters reporting from Afghanistan through their Twitter handles, through their Facebook posts, you know the impact of professional writing that can have on the world media altogether, on the people of the world. So social media writing again is indeed professional writing, because it helps people to create opinions, to change opinions for the betterment of a society. Change making is one of the most important goal of professional writing, I would rather say, and these days. Arab Spring 2010-2011, I think I will be able to give more impetus on this subject because I have been watching this at a very close quarters. Those were the days when I was living in Saudi Arabia, and I was able to watch what was happening in the Arab world around me. In Bahrain, about 88% of the Bahrain struggle, people who came to the Bahrain struggle, 88% of the people who were camping there were thousands who were camping. Most of them came there because they read their Facebook posts and because they took to Twitter storm. The best thing that happened, the first thing that kickstarted the Arab Spring was the Tunisian Revolution. We called it the Jasmine Revolution, which lasted for 28 days. Twitter was afire with tweets those days. And at the end of those 28 days, the president of Tunisia, Ben Ali, was ousted. And when he was ousted, more and more people got emboldened by the change social media was bringing in, by what professional writing in social media was bringing in. CNN and Al Jazeera were quoting tweets and Facebook posts of supporters of this revolution. And a change was happening in professional writing. When, I was telling I was living in Saudi Arabia, and I was also part of this Women to Drive movement, which was spearheaded by women like Wajiha Al-Huwaida and Lujain Al-Hatlol. And it was Wajiha who kickstarted this movement. We took this hashtag Women Can Drive, WCD, to Twitter. We also took it to Facebook. And even though the Saudi Arabian government had banned internet, access to certain social media platforms, we were using other protocols, internet protocols, to access Facebook, to access Twitter, and to create an opinion in social media that Saudi women were put under heavy pressure by the government. And I think as a fallout of this campaign, there were a lot of activists arrested. I think one of my friends, yes, here you can see her picture, Nivedhita Louis. She's one of the activists who spearheaded this movement. She was also one of my Facebook friends. She was arrested in the year 2018 and she was let out in 2021, a couple of months ago. The first picture that you see was her picture taken in 2011, and the picture that you see down below was a picture that has been taken when she was released from jail in 2021. And she is under constant surveillance by the government, being told not to speak to social media or to any other media. So it does exist. We used this picture in all our hashtags when we were writing about this Women to Drive campaign. As a fallout of this, however, Saudi Arabia went on to bring more reforms in women's rights. They have the Supreme Shura Council, and women were included in the Shura Council for the first time in 2011 as a fallout of the Arab Spring. Women also had the voting rights for the Shura Council after what happened in the Women to Drive campaign. So this change was made possible because few people opted to do or write some tweets and Facebook posts in social media. And we also had the Egyptian Spring. I think most of us would have heard about the Egyptian Spring. The people who were part of the Egyptian Spring, they wanted to call themselves the Facebook generation. They all wrote their posts in Facebook. Any meeting, they'll put a hashtag and they'll say through a Facebook post that we are going to assemble at this street, at this junction, at this time. And there you will see hundreds of people, on the roads taking the fight on. And people like Wael Ghonim, again, he is an Egyptian activist, a very, very hardcore activist at that. He was at the spearheading of, he was one of the spearheaders of this Egyptian Spring. So what was the fallout of all this? When I talk about change, the professional writing that brought a change, people who as simple as you and me writing in social media and the media platforms, other media platforms relaying what these people were writing because their correspondents could not reach those places. And that change making, which happened, it made immense changes in the Middle East. It spread to Algeria. And what was the result of the Algerian Revolution was that a 19-year-old emergency was lifted there. Yemen, the Yemenis overthrew Ali Abdullah Saleh, their president there. Jordan, King Abdullah dissolved the parliament in Jordan. It spread to Iran, to Kuwait, to Oman. Oman, there was economic concessions by Sultan Qaboos, which was given immediately after the rebellion. Sudan, the president did not want to seek another term after this rebellion. And the Syrian civil war that we are talking about even now started in 2010 and 11 as a fallout of the Arab Spring. So overall, Arab Spring was one of the reasons why people started thinking about writing in social media, in blogging platforms, in Facebook, in Twitter, as something that is professional and something that is there to bring about a change. Why professional writing? I would love to say there are a lot of reasons for writing in a professional manner, but the first one would be to counter fake news. I think most of us will be aware of U-Turn, the YouTube channel, and the website, the fact-checking website. A picture like this, it showed up a couple of years ago with a lot of people writing about this, saying that Tandai Periyar married a girl who was as young as his daughter. Yes, that was what was being written those days. And, U-Turn published this picture courtesy U-Turn. They published this picture saying this was a marriage, a Suya Mariyadai Thirumanam, a self, marriage where the people, you can see the guy and the girl here, the bride and the groom. You can also see Aringar Anna here sitting on stage. And this was not a marriage between Periyar and the girl. It was a marriage between this guy and the girl. So very simple fact checking, this can be a part of countering fake news. And this is professional writing again, because it changes a public opinion, a wrongly made public opinion. And we have this space creation. We have a content crunch always. When it comes to mainstream media, what we are finding around us, you see, there are a lot of content crunch, I would love to call. Most of the web channels that we see these days, say for instance the YouTube channels, they go by sensationalism. They don't want to convey something. They don't want to inform people. They just want to create some kind of sensationalism, and through that they want to increase their ratings. And again, we see there are agenda-driven media, especially those that are run by the most important parties. You can see the newspapers, the television channels. Best example would be the television channels here. Most of the channels are run by a particular party for betterment of their own personal agenda. And when we started Her Stories, we started Her Stories as a small platform, a Facebook page, because we just wanted to, bring women together to bring a change through social media. It started as any normal Facebook page. The main purpose being that you have to stop or put an end to the male gaze that is apparent in any movie magazine. There were a lot of women's issues which are non-saleable by the regular media. You want to write about something, say, for instance, the menstrual cup. You want to write something, say, about same-sex marriages. A regular popular media will definitely say no to that story because they do not think that those kind of stories are saleable. At the end of the day, it's their financial market that they are bothered about and not about the society that spins that profit for them. And there are also, again, a lot of run-in-the-mill women's magazines. When you look at the women's magazines around you, you can only find columns, beauty tips, and cookery tips all through the magazines. So what about an average Tamil woman who's sitting at home, or probably who is working somewhere, who has little time on her hands to see something through her social media, and whatever she sees is only this, the sensationalism, the agenda, the male gaze, and a lot of unaddressed women issues and regular run-in-the-mill women's magazines coming out. So this, again, this is what the space is given. And we wanted to create an alternative space. And so Her Story slowly took off from Facebook to the internet platform. We created a blog almost after 7-8 months of working through Facebook. And when the blog was created, we had a lot of space to give alternate content. We were able to say about politics from a female perspective. That's very, very important. Still, we have a wonderful Sri Lankan writer writing on the Afghan issue every day night at 8:30. We are uploading it at 8:30 p.m. every day. When the popular media doesn't even care about what is happening in Afghanistan, we are carrying it every day. We address gender inequality because gender inequality is something that needs to be spoken a lot about. There's a lot that is to be done, and popular media is shying away from that. We're also having, separate sections where gender and gendering is happening in nature, explanation. There is a beautiful series that is run about animals and gender. We are talking about history from a woman's perspective, because history always has different perspectives. When it is written by a man, it is always the perspective of a man. And when it is written by a woman, it has a woman's perspective, a different perspective. And we're also able to address a lot of social issues that the popular media shies upon. We've also tried to explore, as you see on your screens, a small comic on Satyavani Muthama, one of the most revered politicians of the erstwhile era. So this comic we tried. So what do we do in Her Stories is that we now have about 50 writers across various age groups who write both in English and Tamil. We have published more than 20 series regularly in both the languages. And we have been looking at language, style, readability, and content enrichment here. We have tied up with Pari Online, Rural India Online, which publishes stories from rural India. It's the Pan-India magazine, and we have tied up with them, and we are carrying their stories here. Palmanam, again, is a LGBTQIA magazine run by the LGBTQIA people, and we are carrying articles and interviews by the LGBTQIA people in Palmanam to Her Stories. This is definitely a non-profit business model. When I was initially talking about professional writing, We are not building own capital, we are building social capital. And so this definitely is a non-profit business model. This is a space for stories of the oppressed and marginalized people. But still, packaging and marketing is very, very essential when it comes to professional writing, because branding is essential. Without a proper brand name, without proper branding, without putting forth yourself as a brand, you can never stand in this days, the neo modern market driven economy, including the society. And so what we represent as a brand is far more important. So if you look at our logo, we have designed it in rainbow colors, representing we are there for people of all gender, and it will have the shape of a pen, bringing about change through the pen. And this branding, starting from the logo to the stories that we carry, this branding has done us a lot of good. The name, Her Stories, again, it has been coined from history. Her story, we are telling the story of women from her side. Even though packaging and marketing is important, I would definitely say a social media presence is very important. If you're going to run a web magazine or an e-magazine, you definitely have to engage with people. At least a couple of Facebook posts every day, at least a couple of tweets every day to say what you're doing, at least sharing what has been written from a women's perspective. It is not something that I write something, one of my friend is writing something. No, it's not the case. It's like women, uplifting women together. Women are holding each other up. Women walking together arm in arm. So anything that is worth mentioning, anything that is worth shareable, we do share it in our social media. Engagement in social media again is very important. I would love to say a couple of days back there was a huge problem because there was one article written by a writer where she had mentioned that people, actors like Kamal Hassan and actors like Vijay Sethupathi, when they come to the popular television programs and when they say they do not know cooking, they are making a statement there. They are making people who are fanatic followers of them to follow the same style. And when someone mentioned this as a post, you should have imagined the amount of brickbats that we received, the amount of comments that came. Most of them men, cishet men, who want to make a point in a women's only page saying that, when they don't know cooking, they have to accept that they don't know cooking. What is wrong in that? I think cooking is one of life skills. You cannot say, I don't know cooking and shy away from that. And you can't expect a woman in the house to do the cooking and the cleaning all the time. Cooking is a basic survival skill that has to be learned by everyone, that has to be done by everyone. So this is the change that we need to make. And we constantly engage with such people. And at one point when we don't want to engage, we just, block themselves out and we keep happy in our own world. We have weekend conversations here. Every weekend on Saturdays, we have important conversations with women writers, with women change makers in the society, people who are working in the social field, people who have brought a change in society. We continuously talk with them. We also hold conversations on very important topics, topics like menstrual issues, topic like usage of period items, talking about sustainable periods and talking about LGBTQA rights, bringing about an educator from LGBTQA community to talk about queer people, to make a society a gender-friendly, a queer-friendly society. We have a lot of such weekend conversations, and these conversations have helped us market ourselves or package ourselves as someone who stands up for the women. And we also have Ennamma. There is one series called Ennamma where people are, they are pushed to write about their own human stories. When you a generic title like My Mother will always be inspirational for someone to write about their own mother, write about their own past, to reminisce what has happened in their lives and write more about it. And we have a lot of people writing for that particular, on that particular topic now. So, being someone who has worked with her stories, what do I have to tell you? You need to better your writing skills. So how to better one's writing skills? First point, write with a pen every day. It's going to be your everyday ritual. How many of you have pens and how many of you write every day on paper? The number is very, very less. Hardly a couple, probably, if you ask now. So start writing with a pen, strike off, rewrite, make it a ritual. Read more. Reading apparently opens windows and doors to a whole new world. Otherwise, you will be living in a small pen, just like any other animal. So read more, change your views. Opinions are always meant to be changed. They are not going to remain the same. What I thought yesterday is not what I'm thinking today. What I thought day before yesterday is not what I'm thinking today. I'm not the same person who I was a year ago because I read more. When you read more, the world opens up. And read your edited or published copy and your raw content to find and reconcile the differences. Anything that is edited, anything that is published, any piece of writing that you have done, you go back to your first copy, read it, and check with what has been published or what you have on your hand as your last copy, and try to find out the changes that have been done there, because that will help you hone your skills as a writer. Check if you have clarity of thoughts and flow. This is very, very important, because when you don't have a clarity of thought, when you're writing about one particular subject, you needn't go here and there beating around the bush, talking about different things, rather than when you have proper clarity of thoughts, your words will flow like a river. That's what should happen, right? When your thoughts and your words match or go hand in hand, both of them flow like rivers. That has to be there. Be consistent in your efforts. If you are a writer, if you want to make a career as a writer, be consistent in your efforts. It's not that you write a short story, you send it to someone, it gets bounced, and you sit back and you don't do that, saying, nobody reads what I write. Nobody's interested in what I write. No. I got so many of my books bounced back to me. I had so many of my articles still sleeping on the tables of the popular media like the Scroll and the Times and the Print. But that shouldn't bother you the least bit. That shouldn't stop you in your efforts to write. So be consistent, keep writing, work on time. This is something that I'm finding this new generation people terribly, terribly lacking. Because when you ask them to write a series, they're very interested in writing a series, but then sending in, articles week by week properly on time is a big problem, because they do not have the work commitment that the earlier generation had. Now, don't think of me as someone who is against, the younger generation. No, I have very high opinion of the younger generation. Only thing is that they have to pull themselves up at times, not every time. And try to copy edit somebody's work also, so you can learn. When you try to copy edit other person's work, you know their viewpoints. You can find where they lack. You can find where you lack. So that will help you to better your writing. And don't be restricted to a single genre. That is what I would like to reiterate here. If you're restricted to a genre, you will become one particular writer writing a same kind of writing, and at a point of time you'll definitely come to a roadblock. You will have a writer's block, and you'll never get away from that writer's block. So don't be restricted to a genre. Experiment yourselves. Write any kind of writing that comes to you. Say for instance, write an academic paper and see if that suits you. Try some copy editing and find if it suits you. Try translation. And these days, I think translation pays a lot. There are platforms like Upwork that give people earn in dollars in those kind of platforms. So give that a try too if you want to try professional writing. And make a language simple. This is one thing that I would love to say, because when you find most of the articles that are being published in the regular newspapers these days even, and in the magazines, you find one particular sentence. A whole paragraph will cover one particular sentence. What point does that make? Try to break your sentences into smaller ones, so even a child, if it reads your writing, should be able to understand. And always remember, you're not writing to show off your talent. You're not writing to show whatever stuff you've got. It is not a display out there. It is not an exhibition. What you're writing should ultimately touch the person for whom you're writing, the end user. Look at your audience. Who's going to read what you're writing? Even a small child should read what you're writing. It should understand, it should love, and it should connect with your writing. So make your language as simple as possible. So what I have spoken so far is about what we are doing in her stories now, because that is what an insight that I can give, what I am doing and what we are
Wow,
doing
bete
here.
mojikadi.
So that is what I can do. So we have told you what we do at her stories as professional writing. Whatever inputs I have given here have also been given by our co-founder, Mr. Validasan. Again, I thank all of you for having spent this 1 hour listening to whatever was being told to you. I don't know if it holds any relevance to whatever you're doing right now. Anyway, thank you so much for the opportunity. I thank the principal and the staff and all the students for sitting here and listening to this. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am, for the enlightening session. Now the session is open for questions. Participants, if you have any questions, kindly put forth. You can switch on your microphone and you can ask the questions. You can also use the chat box to post in your questions, and ma'am will be ready to answer. Participants, the session is open for questions. Ma'am, we have a question in the
Yes.
chat box.
Yes. Yeah, I think someone, Tripati has asked, can the speaker mention any platform for publishing creative writing? We are very much open. Her stories is open. But any writing that is by women for women is welcome here. There's another question. How to make audience to read if I write something, if it's a short story or a poem? Ritu Datta has asked. Ritu Datta, the thing is that how to make the audience. I think the best way to start about bringing audience is either you try through your social platform, either your Facebook page. I think Facebook is a wonderful platform where you can start writing, and there are a lot of other blogging platforms. And I don't know if you have a blog, but if you have a personal blog, I think you can start writing in a blog. And there are other third-party blogs like you say Blogadda and the likes, where you can send in your entries, your short stories and your poem. There are a lot of creative writing competitions. You can, if you are on Instagram, I think you can tag, you can put a hashtag creative writing contest and you'll find hundreds of such contests. So you can take contest and start. And Nisha has asked, could a novice start creative writing without any guidance? Yes, any novice can start writing without guidance. It's just that you keep writing and you keep honing your skills. You read more. The more you read, I think the more you can write. Tripati goes again. Does her story entertain mythological fictional writings? Mythological fictional writings are also welcome, provided they give it from a feminine perspective or from a feminist perspective, because that's what we have been trying to do. We have been trying to create an alternative space for women writers to write in a women's perspective. How does one kickstart their career in creative writing? See, kickstarting a career in creative writing can be from a very young age. My daughter is, she's in her 11th standard. She has started writing poems when she was 7 or 8 years old. And now she has been writing for the creative writing contests that happen on random Insta pages. She keeps writing. She also has written 1 or 2 novellas. So age is just a number. You can start writing anytime you want to. Only thing is keep yourself updated. and keep yourselves communicable. Start talking to people and start communicating with like-minded people who write, with like-minded people who publish. That will be more important, I think. Any other questions?
Participants, if you have any other questions, you can ask. The platform is still open for questions. Thank you, ma'am, for your enlightening speech. I now invite Ms. Alice, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to propose the vote of thanks.
Feeling grateful and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. A quote by Maya Angelou. I'm glad to render the vote of thanks for this online workshop. I first thank Almighty God for giving His grace to conduct this online training workshop. I'm immensely grateful for our distinguished guest, Ms. Nivedhita Louis, for spending your valuable time in training and preparing the young minds of our college. I thank our principal, Dr. Usha George, for being a pillar of encouragement throughout our efforts. I also thank Ms. Mohanapriya ma'am for the welcome address. I extend my gratitude to the MC of the program, Ms. Maria Benetta, for flawlessly conducting the program. I also thank Jitisha for the wonderful prayer. Last but not the least, I thank you, dear students, for attending the program to be trained for better future prospects. The feedback link has been posted in the chat box. Kindly fill it to obtain your participation certificates. Once again, thank you all.
Dear